Seats down. You get the next one from the yellow sweatshirt. See, I'm pointing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, yellow.
So this movie was really, like, it felt really personal, super intense, and, like, I think the editing and the sound design were phenomenal. What part of the production process, pre, during, and post-production was, like, the most personal to you?
You know, it's interesting because it's Sam Hunter who wrote it. It's a very personal story. He's started to talk about that. I didn't actually know that much about it, but he actually, a lot of it comes from his own life. You can look up what he's talked about it. It's when it's not that personal, because the characters aren't me. I was very much, probably like a lot of people in this audience, when you first sort of start, there's a lot of judging a book by its cover, and then you slowly start to go deeper and deeper and start to fall in love with all these characters, or at least understand where they're coming from and really relate to them. So I think the personal part for me is always in feeling what the performers are doing in the moment. So, but it's always that way when you're on set. Look, I'm not the wrestler, and I'm not the ballerina, and I'm not the drug addict. But you kind of, cinema's this exercise in empathy. And the reason we all love movies is because they can transport you, and you can relate to characters that you may pass on the street and judge on the street. And then suddenly you really feel who they are. So like the actors who have to play them and they're not them, they have to make believe that they're them. As a director, I'm watching them and just trying to feel what they're feeling and feel if it feels human to me and feels like something I would feel. I try to feel the emotions all the time. So between action and cut, I'm just extremely focused on what they're doing and trying to make sure that their emotions relate to how I read the script and that it's all working. So it's just a constant feeling like that. You know, when we call cut, we all make jokes or we all like take care of each other. But then as soon as action cut, you're just trying to think about where the audience is and empathize moment by moment.
You had your hand up right there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Last question. Go ahead.
So I'm curious, kind of as a creative and as someone who always kind of has another amazing, fascinating project coming up. Like, do you find that you have like a backlog of ideas? It's like, oh, here's these, like a collection of things that you're really interested in working on that you have to decide between after each project. Are you developing the next thing while you're working on one project, or just completely in that world? Sorry, just like a
Yeah, I get it.
long question.
So yes, the answer is yes. This took 10 years to make, meaning it didn't take 10 years. I wasn't working on it for 10 years. I first got interested in it 10 years ago. And over the last 10 years, a version of the draft would come in, I would read it, I would consider it, and then I'd be like, oh, no, it's not quite right. I don't know the right actor. I almost produced it, like George Clooney wanted to do it for a little bit, and then Tom Ford wanted to do it, and we tried to make it happen, and then it didn't happen. And then eventually it became the right time to do it. So to answer your question, there's always a lot of projects. We have, I have some that have been around for 20 years and some that have been around for 20 months. And we just continue to work on them until one of them seems possible to get made. I wanted to make Noah since I was 13 years old. And then off of Black Swan, I realized someone might be crazy enough to give me $100 million to make it. So that's the game. You just keep them coming, and then when you find the right opening for the right one, and it feels right, it just sort of manifests itself.
Thank you for the movie. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you guys.
Darren Aronofsky, everyone.
Thank you, Chicago.